Derek Mason walked out of prison in 2024 after 15 years behind bars for a murder he didn't commit. 3 weeks later, the prosecutor who convicted him was found dead. Then the lead detective, then a jury member. Everyone connected to Derek's trial was being systematically killed, and Derek was the obvious suspect. Except he was innocent then, and he's innocent now. Derek Mason walked out of Walpole State Prison on April 3, 2024, carrying a paper bag with his belongings and a check for $850,000, compensation for 15 years of wrongful imprisonment. He was convicted in 2009 for the murder of his business partner, James Thornton. The prosecution's case had been built on circumstantial evidence: Derek's fingerprints on the murder weapon, his motive, a business dispute, and testimony from a witness who placed Derek at the scene. In 2023, new DNA testing on evidence excluded Derek and matched a convicted felon named Carl Hendricks. Carl confessed to the murder, claiming James Thornton had owed him money. Derek's conviction was vacated. Derek moved into a small apartment in Worcester, trying to rebuild his life. 3 weeks later, he got a call from Detective Lisa Monroe. "Derek, I need to ask where you were last night." "Home. Why?" "Robert Sinclair was murdered, gunshot to the head. His house was broken into around midnight." Derek felt cold. Robert Sinclair had been the prosecutor who convicted him. "I was home alone, no alibi." "I know this looks bad, but I had to ask." Derek hung up, feeling the old panic return. He'd spent 15 years fighting for his innocence. Now, someone was framing him again.
2 days later, Detective Paul Hendricks, the lead investigator on Derek's original case, died in a hit-and-run. Then Maria Valdez, jury foreman, was found dead in her bathtub. Apparent drowning, but toxicology showed sedatives. Detective Monroe brought Derek in for questioning. 3 people connected to your trial, all dead within 2 weeks. You understand how this looks. "I didn't kill anyone. I was just exonerated." "Maybe you're getting revenge." "Revenge for what? I'm free. I got compensation. Why would I risk that?" Monroe didn't have an answer, but she didn't have evidence either. Derek hired a lawyer. Together they reviewed the murders. Derek's alibis were weak. He'd been alone for all 3 deaths. No security cameras, no witnesses. But Derek noticed a pattern. All 3 victims had been key figures in his wrongful conviction. Sinclair prosecuted aggressively. Hendricks had allegedly coerced witnesses. Valdez had led a jury that deliberated for only 3 hours. "Someone's punishing people connected to my case," Derek told his lawyer, "but it's not me." Then who? Derek thought about everyone affected by his wrongful conviction. His ex-wife had divorced him while he was in prison. His daughter refused to speak to him. His parents had died while he was inside. Then he thought of someone else, Claire Thornton, James's widow. Claire had testified against Derek at trial, saying Derek and James had argued the week before James was murdered. Her testimony had been damning. But Derek remembered something else. Claire had been having an affair.
James had found out and was planning to divorce her, cutting her out of his will. Derek told Detective Monroe, "Claire Thornton had motive to kill James. Maybe she framed me, and now she's eliminating everyone who could reopen the investigation." Monroe looked skeptical. "Claire testified against you. Why would she help convict you if she killed her husband? Because if I went to prison, no one would look for the real killer." Monroe pulled Claire's records. She was living in Boston, working as a real estate agent. No criminal history, nothing suspicious. But Monroe ran Claire's financials. 3 days before Robert Sinclair was murdered, Claire withdrew $15,000 cash. A similar withdrawal before Hendricks died, another before Valdez. Monroe brought Claire in for questioning. "I needed cash for renovations," Claire said. "That's not a crime." "Where were you the night Robert Sinclair was killed?" "Home alone." "Detective Hendricks?" "Working late at my office." "Maria Valdez?" "I don't even know who that is."
Monroe had no evidence, no forensics, no witnesses, just patterns and suspicion. Derek, feeling desperate, started his own investigation. He visited Claire's neighborhood, asked questions, tracked her movements. He found something. A storage unit rented under a fake name, paid for with cash matching Claire's withdrawal amounts. Derek called Monroe. "I found Claire's storage unit. I think she's keeping evidence there." "How did you find it?" "I followed her." "Derek, that's stalking. I can't use illegally obtained. Just get a warrant, please." Monroe investigated the storage unit. It was rented by Anna Mitchell, a fake identity, but the rental agreement had a signature Monroe recognized from old case files. Claire Thornton's handwriting. Monroe got a warrant. Inside the unit, a gun matching ballistics to the one used to kill Sinclair, clothes with Hendricks's blood, and a ledger documenting payments to a hitman for the Valdez murder. Monroe arrested Claire. In interrogation, Claire was cold. "I didn't kill James. Derek did." "We have evidence you killed 3 people connected to his trial." "They deserved it. They put an innocent man in prison and let me get away with murder." Monroe leaned forward. "So you did kill James?"
Claire smiled. "I hired Carl Hendricks to kill James in 2009. I paid him $50,000. Then I made sure Derek got blamed. It worked perfectly until that idiot Carl confessed to get a deal on another charge. When Derek was exonerated, I knew eventually someone would investigate the original case, so I decided to eliminate everyone who could testify about the evidence." "Why Derek's fingerprints on the gun?" "I invited Derek to a business dinner the week before. I asked him to open a wine bottle with a corkscrew. I kept the corkscrew, wiped it clean except for his prints, and gave it to Carl. Carl used it to stab James. The murder weapon the police found was actually Derek's from a completely different context." Monroe felt sick. "You framed an innocent man and sent him to prison for 15 years. I didn't count on DNA technology advancing. That was bad luck." Claire Thornton was charged with first-degree murder. James Thornton, 3 counts of first-degree murder. Sinclair, Hendricks, Valdez. conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. She was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. Derek Mason was fully exonerated. His compensation was increased. He started a foundation for the wrongly convicted. But the damage couldn't be undone. Derek had lost 15 years. His marriage, his relationship with his daughter, his parents' final years, all gone. "I was innocent," Derek told a reporter, "but being declared innocent doesn't give you back what you lost. It doesn't erase the years. It doesn't fix the broken relationships."
Detective Monroe attended Derek's foundation launch. "I'm sorry," she told him. "I should have believed you. You were doing your job. The system failed, not you." But Derek knew the truth. The system had failed spectacularly. A woman murdered her husband, framed an innocent man, and then murdered 3 more people to cover it up. And if Carl Hendricks hadn't confessed to an unrelated crime, Derek would still be in prison. Some exonerations come with justice. Derek's came with the knowledge that justice is fragile, fallible, and sometimes arrives too late to matter. Exoneration isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a more dangerous chapter. Subscribe for more cases where justice comes too late.